Hey Twisters, so for today's video, I'm going to talk about what I want to happen in the upcoming 2022-23 NHL season. So this is a top 10, all sorts of topics here to explore. Of course, let me know in the comments down below, what do you want to see in this upcoming season? You can talk about which teams you want to see compete for the Stanley Cup, absolutely. And so without further ado, I'm just going to dive right into this. So 10 topics, we'll start at the top, no particular order really here. But first of all, I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to see some churn in the playoff picture. I want to see some teams that haven't been in the playoffs get back in, right? So there have been a few teams that are enduring some pretty long Stanley Cup droughts or playoff droughts, especially in the Eastern Conference. So just take a look at some of these teams, right? These are up-and-comers. We can expect them to be good at least in a couple of years. But I hope somebody overachieves this year and gets in, especially in the East, because there are a lot of teams that are just getting in year after year. So Senators, 6-year drought. Red Wings, 6-year playoff drought. Devils, 1 appearance in the last 10 years. Sabres, 11-year drought. Even in the West, you have the Ducks, who have missed the playoffs the last few years. So I hope that 1 or 2 of these teams, at the very least, can get in. So then that way we get some new matchups and see some new players out there, and hopefully they can help their team get on a deep run. Number 2, it actually has to do with the first 2 games of the season. So for the Global Series in Prague, October 7th and 8th, I'm hoping at least for a split. My favorite team is the San Jose Sharks, and I'm going to those games. So I'm hoping that I'm not flying all the way out to Prague for nothing, but at least I'm going to other parts of Europe afterwards. However, it's going to be a little tricky for my Sharks. They are 6-11-1 against Nashville over the past several seasons, and it's usually a pretty bad matchup. Those games are not very fun to watch, but hopefully with a new setting here at the O2 Arena in Prague, and I would think a large amount of Czechs cheering on Tomáš Hertl. He's really the big Czech star in these 2 games. Hopefully we can at least get a split, and hopefully I can be a bit of a good luck charm. Now for number 3, I would hope that scoring will actually plateau. It's been on the rise over the past several seasons, and this past season, the average team scored 3.14 goals per game. That is the highest since 1995-96. And some of you out there might even want more scoring, so please comment down below if you disagree. That's perfectly fine. But at this point, it's kind of getting to that point where you have like baseball scores, right? Where they're 6-4. Look at that Winter Classic, for example. Wasn't there like a 9-8 game or a 10-8 game this past season as well? It's getting a little crazy out there, in my opinion. Now, granted, I don't get tired of seeing McDavid put up points. But at the same time, I want to make sure that at least goaltenders can be a big X factor. And there's still some out there, right? I almost said Lundqvist, Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, especially in the playoffs, and the games are lower scoring. Yeah, Saros, to name just a few. So I'm hoping that things will kind of stabilize as it pertains to offense, and teams are able to adjust defensively as the game has shifted quite a bit in my time watching professional hockey. All right, number 4, major awards. Who do I want to see win some of the major awards out there? Now, for the Hart Trophy, I want to see it go to either a defenseman or a goaltender. That's incredibly rare over the past couple of decades. So I think Cale Makar could actually make a push for a Hart Trophy. I think he's that skilled if he is deployed in to get enough opportunities out there. So I would hope maybe him or Shesterkin, right? I think he was a Hart finalist. I think Yossi should have been a Hart finalist this past year. So I would love to see it go to a player like that. Norris Trophy, if it goes to somebody else besides Makar, assuming, with my MVP desires there. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I'd love to see it go to like Jacob Slavin or Jared Spurgeon. I'm glad to see that those guys have gotten some credit among the media in the past couple of seasons, right? But I've loved watching Mo Seider so far in his early career here in the NHL, or maybe Rasmus Dahlin. I wonder if one of those guys could make a push for the trophy this year. So those are just a few names that come to mind there. Rocket Richard, what if Patrick Laine won it, right? Playing with Johnny Gaudreau this upcoming season. I mean, that second season of his career was magnificent, and he was becoming one of my favorite players. So maybe he could return to form. Or who knows, maybe a new face on a different team like Alex DeBrincat with the Ottawa Senators. That could be exciting, although he did tail off quite a bit the first time he scored 41 goals. Vezina Trophy, I've said this for like the past year, Thatcher Demko will be a finalist this upcoming year, and so I'd be happy to see him win it. He's from San Diego, California, so I'm a Cali native myself. or Ilya Sorokin. These guys, I think there's a good contingency of fans who appreciate those goaltenders, but I really want to see them shine in the spotlight this upcoming season. And the Jack Adams Trophy, I really hope that Mike Sullivan at least gets a nominee because he's managed his personnel better than any coach, I think, the last 3 years as it pertains to being decimated by injuries. So I would like to see Sully get some kudos there. Number 5, big trades at the deadline. 3 names that come to mind. First of all, I know that Patrick Kane, there have been murmurs, right? Speculations about him possibly going to the Edmonton Oilers. Imagine that. A top line of Connor McDavid, Evander Kane, and then Patrick Kane. It'd be so crazy seeing him in a different jersey, but I wouldn't mind that. He's only been in the playoffs once since 2017 in the bubble round or in the bubble playoffs. So I'd like to see him get that opportunity. Timo Meier, I'm a Sharks fan, right? So look, really, we should have traded Tomas Hertl last year. We could have gotten great assets for that. Timo Meier's a little bit younger, and salary cap, we need to clear the way for the future and get assets, right? Get assets for a really good 2023 draft. So even though I really like Timo Meier, I think that perhaps he could take over the role from Kevin Fiala as he left the Wild to go to the Kings in a trade. So maybe he could go over there because I do like the Wild. I also like the Hurricanes. And so maybe one of them could make a huge move at some point this season a bit. All right, number 6, reverse retro jerseys. They're coming back this upcoming season. I'm looking forward to a handful of those designs. But what I want to see, first of all, more reverse retro jersey matchups on the ice, kind of like what we saw with the Lake Tahoe games. There are going to be some teams that have white jerseys for their reverse retro designs. So I'm on board with that. And then quickly, some of the designs that weren't leaked in that Fanatics leak a couple weeks ago, right? So there were a few teams left out of that in terms of what kind of design we could expect. So first of all, Carolina Hurricanes, I'd like to see a white version of their black alternate from the Reebok era. I think that would look pretty fresh. Detroit Red Wings, maybe one of those unusual Detroit Cougars designs. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that, maybe in black predominantly. I know it's, Red Wings fans might be a little bit hesitant to see that. Or a white version of the 2014 Winter Classic, even though that was kind of its own unique design. It's still one of my favorite jerseys, especially from their end of things. Predators, the checkerboard jersey, would love to see that come back. Maybe, predominantly navy with some yellow accents. St. Louis Blues, not too many people talk about this. I wouldn't mind seeing that kind of lettermark jersey from the mid-1980s. It still has the blue note on it. I think it looks pretty good. Not the best in their history, but I wouldn't mind that in sort of that lighter blue that they're wearing as their alternate jersey right now. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, now I want to see them wear green, right? Not just the St. Pat's, but also looking at their jersey history. They had that 1927 jersey with the green leaf, right? And it was just a white sweater. I would like to see a green jersey, but in the rendition that they wore in the 2014 Winter Classic when they played the Red Wings. So kind of a mashup there, but basically drawing on the early history of that hockey club as the Toronto Maple Leafs, started in 1927 as the Leafs, and with those classic colors and some of that old school sweater striping as well. Number 7, this is something that will happen this year, barring any serious injury. Ovechkin passing Gordie Howe. I'm looking really forward to watching that. He would then move into second all-time in NHL goals, even though Howe has more professional goals, right, with the WHA. But yeah, Ovi, he's 21 away. He's got 780. Howe has 801, and then Gretzky is 894. So that's going to be a couple years from now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. That could happen basically in the middle of the season. Maybe game number 37 against the Rangers. I think that's in Madison Square Garden. That's kind of like maybe the hallmark opportunity, I would say, for a great moment like that. I'm excited for it, though. All right, number 8. More outdoor game announcements. So we got, Winter Classic, Stadium Series. There was not a Heritage Classic game announced. At least I don't think so. But anyway, 2024 Winter Classic. I would like to see it either in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium or Columbus at Ohio State University, or the Ohio State University, or even Lower.com field or stadium where the Crew play. So neither of these teams have played in a Winter Classic. The Devils have played in a Stadium Series, and next year, 2024, I think that these teams are going to have, they're going to have some promising players on the roster, kind of developing and maturing and starting to make some serious impact. So I would like to see them actually get the opportunity to have themselves on a bigger stage, right, with a national broadcast audience, maybe against the Rangers as an opponent to help with the ratings. I would typically say, hey, a Canadian team should host this, but just with the way that things have trended, it's usually American teams hosting the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series, and then Canadian teams host the Heritage Classic. So, Stadium Series. I know that it would be difficult with the possibility of rain. I really want to see Kraken versus Canucks at Lehman Field. That's where the Seattle Seahawks play. I would totally drive out and watch that game. Of course, what I really want is those teams, or even Seattle versus Vegas. I want them to come to Eastern Washington, or where I live in North Idaho here in the dead of winter, because I think we could definitely support an outdoor game. It's just that when it comes to stadiums, we really don't have that many options. We've got, where Washington State plays, but that town doesn't really have much in the way of hotels. But hey, a man can dream, right? So anyway, want to see a Stadium Series there. And then announce a Heritage Classic game. I don't know if that's going to be a possibility for this upcoming season, but come on. We haven't had the Battle of Alberta for a Heritage Classic just yet. So that could be either in Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium, I think, or it could be in Calgary at, I think, what's called McMahon Stadium, right? That's where the CFL teams play. But yeah, those are some of the announcements that I'm hoping for. Also, 2024 All-Star Game. Why not Honda Center? It's never hosted an All-Star Game. There's plenty of entertainment options around Anaheim and Southern California for families who come out to the game. So why not, right? Especially with some of those great young players that the Ducks will have going into that 2023-24 season. So I'd like to see that. Number 9, which grizzled veteran hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet who I'd want to see win a Stanley Cup? There are 3 names that come to mind. First of all, of course, me being a Sharks fan, would be stoked to see Joe Pavelski hoist the Stanley Cup. Not to mention, he's 76 points from 1,000 in his career. He was over a point per game player this past season, or just about that. So who knows? He could reach 1,000. And if he wins a Stanley Cup, I think that, I don't know, he's at least a U.S. Hockey Hall of Famer. Maybe a shot at the actual Hall of Fame if he wins the Stanley Cup. Ryan Suter would also win one as well as part of the Dallas Stars. So you got Pavs and Suter. Mark Giordano, 38 years old, played on some bad Calgary teams earlier in his career, was a captain for a long time, just a terrific player, and, again, maybe a little bit short of kind of that Hall of Fame consideration, so that would be with Toronto. And lastly, Craig Anderson of the Buffalo Sabres. I think he would need to be traded out to another team. He's 41 years old, and he's had one hell of a story throughout his career, that's for sure. And then lastly, Cup final matchup that I want to see most. I haven't thought about this a whole lot, but the first thing that popped into my mind, right? This year, for contenders, I'm rooting for the Hurricanes, right? Panthers, I like them quite a bit. Wild, right? But yeah, I'm going for the Hurricanes, especially since they have Brent Burns. And I thought, why not a rematch of the 2006 Stanley Cup, right? Against the Edmonton Oilers. Now, one reason why I stuck with that is because with the Oilers, of course, we had the unfortunate passing of Ben Stelter. And, before that, Joey Moss and Colby Cave. I mean, I would love to see the Oilers win a Stanley Cup. I think that would just really bring the community together in a way that it hasn't, in decades and decades. So I think that would be a terrific matchup, excuse me. I wouldn't really be that sad if the Oilers beat the Hurricanes there. But yeah, Oilers versus Maple Leafs, I would love to see that. I mean, God, come on. We got to see a Canadian team win a Stanley Cup. We're going to be going on 30 years, right? So Oilers, Leafs, Flames versus Leafs, maybe the Canucks somehow, make a magnificent run, right? I think it's possible, right? Boudreau had them playing some good hockey. Or you could have like Vancouver go up against a team like Florida, or Florida could go up against a team like Nashville or Minnesota. I don't think these matchups are very likely. These are playoff caliber teams. I'd be happy though, because then that way some team is guaranteed to win. Is somebody out there with a weed trimmer? Anyway, so those are the 10 things that I want to see this upcoming NHL season. What do you want to see? What is your dream Stanley Cup matchup, right? Realistically though. Anyway, comment down below and stick around for more rockin' off-season content. I've uploaded a ton of videos kind of predicting leading point scorers, leading goal scorers, and all other sorts of analytical content as it pertains to the off-season and this season ahead. So hopefully we'll see you around for a lot more great content here on Twisted Wrister Hockey. So hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, right? That way you know when I'm putting out content or a live stream, and see the video description if you want to follow me on social media or contribute with a donation or a super thanks. We accept them here as well. I appreciate you Twisters so much for tuning in. I'm Nick, and I'll catch you later. Ciao.